I'm so sorry to interrupt your otherwise very good lunch. Rebecca, when they told me that you're a formidable speaker, I had no idea. And it's a very difficult act to follow, but I will try. I will not go through recognizing everybody, then I will recognize the whole room. But I recognize that all of you came because you really feel very strongly about US-Saudi relationship. And I probably hope to be able to infuse in you some of my enthusiasm in this Saudi-US relationship. When we looked at Atlanta, we had no idea that Southern hospitality was actually born out of Georgia. And I'm very grateful that the governor came, and we have made more friends here. And I met an old friend of mine when we were both in Citibank, Dennis Lockhart, and he was very kind yesterday to remind me of certain things that we did when we were at Citibank. But let me be very as open as I can be. Saudi Arabia and the US have a long-standing relationship that has deepened with our common desire for greater cooperation in all sectors. This cooperation will become even stronger at this time as the US is undergoing a disappointing economic recovery since the financial crisis of 2009. But I am sure that our collaboration will overcome these difficulties. And I assure you, Saudi Arabia stands with its friends in good times and bad times. During these challenging times, Saudi Arabia has not taken the path of curtailing free trade. In 2012, Saudi Arabia is forecasted to receive 23% of total US exports to Arab states, which is estimated to reach $95 billion. The trade outlook indicates that Saudi Arabia is one of the top markets in the region, with potential of US exports forecasted to more than double by 2015. And as Rebecca, you mentioned about the President Obama National Export Initiative, this, in my opinion, will help to create more jobs, and Saudi Arabia and US should complement and leverage each other's comparative advantages to build a value-added relationship. I am convinced that this bilateral relationship has great potential to grow and cover in a comprehensive way all economic sectors. Over the years, the leaders of Saudi Arabia and the US, and you mentioned the meeting between President Obama and King Abdullah, supported this bilateral economic relationship, and we are committed to ensuring that our relationship continues to flourish. Saudi-US relations are built on shared values, mutual respect, and the commitment to collaborate in developing new value-added elements of our relationship. Together, we need to focus on encouraging stronger institutional collaboration in order to reinvigorate our mutual interest. Institutional collaboration will inevitably maintain prosperity between Saudi Arabia and the United States. I think you may have heard all this, but I'm going to repeat it, and I'm intending to go through some of the program and highlight some of them. I'd like to highlight for you a few important facts on the Saudi economy and the vast opportunity it offers. Saudi Arabia is the largest economy, as you may have heard today, in the Middle East, and a member of the G20 with the largest foreign reserves on a per capita basis. According to 2012 Ease of Doing Business report of the World Bank, Saudi Arabia has been ranked as the 12th most friendly country out of 183. This is a result of King Abdullah's initiative to create key institutions, to streamline operations, and restructuring, most importantly, the court system to ensure that the rule of law prevails and creating a commission to investigate any wrongdoing in terms of corruption. Saudi Arabia has weathered the financial crisis, as well as due to our prudent financial sector, and you've met our governor of the central bank today. Financial sector strong record of fiscal responsibility and economic diversification. Moreover, Saudi Arabia will bear the sovereign debt crisis that's hanging over Europe. As a result, real GDP growth increased 4.1% in 2010 and is projected to increase 6.5% in 2011. Saudi economy is poised to continue this robust growth. Saudi Arabia has embarked on a 5-year, $388 billion investment program that emphasizes private sector growth. This plan is funded solely from our national revenue and not incurring any sovereign debt. Few of you, and you may have heard Muhammad talking about the counter-cyclicality. Few of you know that Saudi Arabia's private sector contributes 48% of the country's GDP. And under this 5-year investment program, we're aiming for the private sector to grow about 6% per year. And the private sector is going to be and will continue to be the driver our economy forward. However, to accelerate diversification and reduce oil dependence, Saudi Arabia is enhancing more of its already lucrative incentives. Climbing the value-added ladder is our guiding principle. That's why, even though our petrochemical sector has reached global stature, we're targeting industries that will leverage more of the petrochemical chain, such as specialty plastics and other high value-added products. Saudi Arabia has 80 new basic petrochemical production projects scheduled for completion by 2015. And as you will hear from Dr. Yamani tomorrow, Saudi Arabia is investing heavily in solar technology, with a potential of $3 billion allocated for solar panel production in Yanbu and Jubail. In addition, Saudi Arabia will spend more than $100 billion to build at least a certain amount of nuclear power plants across the kingdom. Development of renewable energy is one of our main objectives. In October, Saudi Arabia inaugurated its first solar plant on Farasan Island, down in the south. This will help provide alternative energy, reduce dependence on hydrocarbons, reduce growth in domestic demand on oil, and save oil reserves for future generation. In addition, recent royal decrees have provided growth opportunities in the housing and healthcare sector. The Saudi housing sector has become the fastest growing housing sector in the Middle East. In order to meet the growing demand of housing in Saudi Arabia, the Ministry of Housing received $66 billion for immediate construction of 500,000 residential units. This growth will continue as housing market needs are estimated to reach 1.6 million units by 2015. In the healthcare sector, $4 billion has been allocated for the implementation and expansion of several medical projects that will test new devices designed to streamline hospital procedures and patient care throughout Saudi Arabia. Our goal is to improve access to care, equity of care, and quality of care, and I'm sure Dr. Rabia, my colleague, will expand on this tomorrow. Furthermore, the expansion of the pharmaceutical industry will allow Saudi Arabia to produce 40% of pharmaceutical needs in the next decade. Simply put, Saudi Arabia is moving away from being an oil-based economy toward a knowledge-based economy with a sophisticated laboratory of excellence, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Under the leadership of the custodian of the two holy mosques, Saudi Arabia has maintained political stability throughout the recent events in the Middle East. Stability is imperative to ensure prosperity for the Saudi people. Saudi Arabia's political and economic stability bring opportunities that need to be addressed in order to achieve our economic growth and diversification goals. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, will continue to be the bedrock of stability in the Middle East. This stability provides the framework for Saudi Arabia as a central pillar and the engine of growth in a region currently convoluted with upheaval. Saudi Arabia will look at stability as its hallmark in order to move forward and continue our robust growth. This stability comes from the close relationship that Saudi people have with the custodian of the two holy mosques and Crown Prince Naif. The highlight of the country's drive towards sustainable economic growth and diversification is our national industrial strategy, which will greatly enhance the contribution of manufacturing to GDP by 2020. This will position Saudi Arabia as a qualitative manufacturing leader and propel other sectors in the economy to grow and accelerate our diversification goals. In addition, the development of small and medium enterprise is important for Saudi Arabia's long-term growth, and as SMEs promote entrepreneurship and training for young professionals to develop their skills, which will positively contribute to our economic growth. This initiative will undoubtedly open up vast opportunities for new investments. We realize this is a highly ambitious goal, but I can assure you we have the determination, commitment, and building capacity to achieve it. Research and development is at the core of this initiative. We are planning to boost our spending on R&D from its 0.5% of GDP today to 3% of GDP by the year 2020. Such allocated resources will also lay the foundation for a knowledge-based economy and expansion of the knowledge clusters. And as you all know, in a knowledge-based economy, what you earn depends on what you learn. The real wealth of any nation is its people. And Saudi Arabia is proud in investing into this asset, as you have heard from Prince Faisal today, at an unprecedented rate. And in the words of a great American educational reformer who said, "Education is a social process. Education is growth. Education is not a preparation for life, but it's life itself." Educational initiatives receive more than a quarter of our national budget in order to ensure that every citizen has access to quality education. And I was corrected today, health and education have the same goals. In addition, and as you may have heard today, that we have a huge program for education abroad under the scholarship fund that King Abdullah has set up. There are currently 47,000 students in the United States, not counting the dependent. My good friend Mohammed Al-Jasser yesterday found out for us that there are more to reach 68,000 students who are not principals. Am I right, Mohammed? Okay. Typical bureaucrat. What's more important, this will allow for greater integration into a globalized world and a greater understanding between people, which is the cornerstone of King Abdullah's Interfaith Dialogue initiative. In September 2009, King Abdullah University for Science and Technology began its first academic year. And King Abdullah's vision of KAUST is to be one of the world's greatest institutions of research and learning, a house of wisdom and a source of enlightenment. In addition, 3 technology valleys are being developed in major universities in Riyadh, Jeddah, and the Eastern Province, as well as 28 technical institutes and 14 university research centers specializing in such areas as chemical engineering, energy research, and nanotechnology. Recent initiatives in labor and education are making good progress to raise employability and enhance skills of Saudi workers. The Nitaqat program promotes Saudiization in the private sector, with Hafiz system grants monthly allowance for 1 year to every Saudi actively looking for a job. Saudi women are making huge inroads into the labor market, and I'm very proud that the ministry has contributed to something that we have not actually talked about, but it's being done. In King Abdullah's address in the opening session of the Shura Council, he highlighted the need for a balanced modernization that is consistent with the Islamic values. King Abdullah emphasized the importance for Saudi women to participate in the Shura Council as members, as well as vote in the next elections in various local councils. I firmly believe that our solid ties, we can forge ahead for a prosperous future of our 2 countries. In the words of a famous Georgian, President Jimmy Carter, and he said, "We live in a time of transition, an uneasy era which is likely to endure. During the period, we may be tempted to abandon some of the time-honored principles and commitments which have been proven during the difficult times of past generations. We must never yield to this temptation. Our values are not luxuries, but necessities." Saudi Arabia is forging ahead to meet the challenges in building the future today. It will anchor itself in its tradition and cultural underpinning, conditioned by our Islamic values. We all have to recognize that in a world which its contours change rapidly, it is this collaborative effort between Saudi Arabia and the United States will bring and will assist in overcoming any challenges of the future. Thank you very much.